Berserk Bear, also known as Dragonfly 2.0 and a bunch of other aliases, is one of the sneakier, more dangerous groups out there. In today's episode of Happy Hunting, we're going to break down how they operate, the signs you should be watching for, and why it matters to your organization. Let's dive right in. Berserk Bear goes by many other names, which include Crouching Yeti, pretty cool if I say so myself, Energetic Bear, Ghost Blizzard, which is pretty interesting, and Dragonfly, which is the name you'll find them under on the MITRE ATT&CK matrix. They've been attributed to the Russian Federal Security Service, or FSB Center, and have been active since at least 2010. Looking at a report by the UK government in an article named Russia's FSB Malign Activity Fact Sheet, we see that Berserk or Energetic Bear is associated with FSB Center 16, and they are responsible for cyber operations to include the intercepting, decrypting, and processing of electronic messages and the technical penetration of foreign targets. In the same article, we can find answers to the question of, well, what have they done? Well, they have been observed conducting operations since 2010 and targeted the energy sector in 2014 and the aviation sector in 2020. And on top of those operations, we can find another major contribution of Berserk Bear, and that is they are responsible for the snake malware and its variants. So they created the snake, or Turla, or Ouroboros malware, which is a sophisticated malware toolkit that has been observed in espionage campaigns, which has been seen in more than 50 countries worldwide. So now that we know who they are and who they've attacked, now we have to answer the question of how have they done it. So let's take a look at this awesome resource called the Russian APT Matrix. Here, Bushido Token, or Will Thomas, has organized different Russian APTs and the tools that they used for us and made our job really easy. By looking at the list and selecting Berserk Bear, I want to take a look at the tools that they're using or have used in the past. One thing that stands out to me is that there are multiple tools here that are open source and publicly available and were created by Microsoft and live in the Microsoft Sysinternals suite to this day. ProcDump, a utility to create memory dump files, and PsExec, a remote administration tool, has been created by Microsoft and are legitimate. So if they run in your environment, they are legitimately signed, and they may not be blocked by EDRs or application control listing or whatever the case may be because they're legitimate. More importantly, they may be used in your environment legitimately so that a threat actor or Berserk Bear here could just blend in with normal traffic. Now, I know I mentioned Microsoft Sysinternals, but what are those? So let's take a look at what these Sysinternals are. I said they're legitimate utilities, but really what are they? They're utilities that are designed to help you manage, troubleshoot, and diagnose Windows and Linux systems and applications. If we jump specifically to the page of PsExec, we find out that it is a lightweight telnet replacement that lets you execute processes on other systems, complete with full interactivity for console applications without having to manually install client software. Basically, a living off the land binary that helps you access remote machines and manage them if needed. And you can even find the parameters and the options that you have to run these, and you can download them for free. Why, oh why, would an adversary want to even think or consider using this? So how are we going to hunt for these tools? Well, the first thing we can do is download the file, which I did, use my computer and some commands to find the MD5 and SHA-256 hash, which I did, and I captured it. So now that I have the up-to-date SHA-256 of the legitimate version of PsExec in whatever form you want, like I said, MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in a search and see if I can find traces or evidence of PsExec existing in my environment. Take a look at the results. We have some PsExec activity. So we see PsExec.exe from the downloads folder. We see that the MD5 is here, SHA-256, but this SHA-256 matches the value that I'm looking for. So what that tells me is that someone, or more more specifically, James Murphy is using the most recent version of PsExec. This is great, but now we have at least two problems. I'm going to say at least two because there's probably a bunch of other ones. But one, what if PsExec activity is common in our environment? What if James Murphy is always running PsExec from the downloads directory? This could be because he's a one-man shop for his small to medium business. It could be that there is no control over tools that they use and they're just going on the fly. Who knows? But all we know is that this could be common in our environment. But two, what if the adversary is using an older version, or maybe this isn't the most up-to-date version? Now we have one hash for one version of one tool. How does that help us address all the sysinternals? Really, at this point, we're only accounting for a single version. So how can we find other traces of sysinternals being used as well? Well, we have that solution. So if we come to the HUNTER471 platform, so because we're looking for behaviors, we already did the IOC route where we can gather all those indicators of compromise and all hashes and throw them into a query and hunt for activity. Let's look for the behaviors. So one behavior that we have is that Sysinternals modify a certain registry key that tracks whether this is the first time a sysinternal tool has been used. Go in the search bar, Sysinternals, and the first result is first time script or Sysinternals Execution, Registry Key Modification. So we're going to take a look at that. Come down to the description. It's designed to capture the first time execution of the scripts of Sysinternals executable. Once again, going down, how are we doing that? Taking a look at the field, looking in the registry path, registry value name. So the registry key should contain software/sysinternals, and then it may contain the EULA or end user license agreement accepted. So what does that look like in our results or in a query? Let's jump up to Splunk, copy and paste, and let's take a look at this. Looking at the results, we can see that we have at least 3 different events that have been returned by this query. Looking at the data, we see in the registry key value that there is a 0 or a D word that's a 0 and a D word that's a 1. Now the 0 means that the EULA has not been accepted, whereas the 1 has been accepted. So we have multiple versions, and if we take a look at the registry path, we can see that there's more than one tool being used here. So we see the auto runs, we see PsExec, and we see System Monitor or Sysmon that have all had their EULA accepted. Now, a good thing about this is that if you don't use sysinternals in your environment, then this may be a very good indicator that someone is using sysinternals for possibly nefarious activity. But it also tracks the time of the first use of this sysinternal. It almost gives you like a perfect timeline to say, we saw that EULA was accepted here, and then gives your incident response team or digital forensics, it gives them a nice timeline to start working their investigation, saying at least this is a good starting point to where we can find other artifacts. Now that we've taken a look at Berserk Bear's techniques and the impact that their campaigns have, and we got a little comfortable with sysinternals, it's time to turn that knowledge into action in our own threat hunts. By recognizing their behaviors, you'll be better prepared to spot similar threats and keep your organization safe. Now don't forget to sign up for your free HUNTER471 community account. It's packed with resources, including the first time script or Sysinternals Execution Registry Key Modification hunt package that you saw in this video to help you track Berserk Bear in your environment. Stay safe out there, and as always, happy hunting.